What's up, and welcome back to the Bridge the Gap podcast with Oliver and Zach, the show where we bridge the gaps between spirituality and science, heart and mind, and thoughts and emotions in the different sectors of society. Today, we are joined with Rocky, who is an employee at Meta working on I believe the AR and maybe a little bit of the VR technology there. And today, we're going to talk a lot about the future of that tech. We're going to talk about AI and transhumanism and so many other awesome topics that are very relevant to the future of all of our lives. And we're going to try to bridge some gaps today. So welcome, Rocky. If you want to quickly introduce yourself and maybe a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to be here. Journey. Yeah, I've been in tech for pretty much my whole life. I did initially was in medicine, but I realized computers were a little bit easier to troubleshoot than people. So moved over to tech, and yeah, I'm over at Meta doing some AR VR stuff there as a firmware test engineer, and yeah, that's about it.
Right on. So to kind of just get right into the topics we were talking about right before we started recording, the first one that's just on my list that I'm very curious about is like, I think for most of us, we struggle to find a balance between being on our smartphones as they are and like actually getting outside, getting socializing time, especially since the pandemic, right? We've kind of been very socially isolated. And I think there's a lot of people that have fears around this new tech that, Meta's working on, and of course other companies as well, about how that's going to increasingly create a gap in our lives between our bodies, our relationships, and then the screens that are so freaking addictive and fun. So I'm curious to see, like, what kind of future do you see, Rocky, that's coming based on the tech that you're working with? Do you think we're going to be like complete slaves to this stuff, or do you think it's going to be harder to balance the two? Do you think it could be potentially easier? I'm curious to hear your take.
I think there's definitely going to be a moment where like there's going to be some assimilation happening, but I don't think it's as crazy as a lot of people might think it is. Like, oh, it's going to take over, and we're going to lose our like connection to nature and whatnot. But I mean, if you look at people that are like introverts, kind of like myself, where I don't really go out or do anything. I'm just kind of mostly at home a lot of the time, but I do like to socialize. I do like to have moments where I do want to have, human interaction, where then I lean into, the virtual space. Right. So I think it'll open up a space for people like that for sure. Where, right now we kind of got is, doing stuff like this or, playing games with friends online and just interacting virtually, but there is a sense to interacting socially outside, but I don't think it's going to impact that, because that's just going to be like you got your introverts and your extroverts, right? So it's like the paths aren't really going to cross that much on that end. It's just going to increase the technology for a lot of the introvert people,
What
being
do you
able to
mean the
interact.
paths are going to cross? If you expand
Um,
on that.
like it's people that if you want to go into like a meta space or whatever, I'm not too sure on the wording for that. But if you want to hang out with people online, that's totally cool. But somebody that does that might not see it any different than somebody that goes out, right? It's like it's the same thing for them. So somebody that's just out isn't obviously going to know that somebody that's in that meta space is doing anything, that wouldn't expect them to think that they're doing the same thing.
Okay, so you're basically saying that it's going to be like the interaction at a certain point in the tech is going to be so similar to like regular in-person interaction that you
Yeah.
feel like it's not going to be that much different.
Right. Right.
Gotcha.
So
And what do you think,
I,
Zach?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So Rocky, a lot of my business runs online through social media. I know for Oliver, it's the same way. And there's a lot of benefit to interacting and communicating through online platforms, right? And you said it yourself, that you're kind of a homebody, right? You're a little bit more
Right.
introverted, and the online space gives you a vehicle where you feel more comfortable to interact.
Right.
My question is, just your personal opinion, do you think we still are missing something? Like, I mean, mental health like took a huge dip during the pandemic, and a lot of that was kind of attributed to the fact that people weren't physically around other people, that there's something about being in physical presence with someone that's regulating to the nervous system, that releases certain endorphins and hormones. And if we're trying to always just supplement that through virtual realities, right?
Right.
Do you feel like we're losing something, or are we almost becoming complacent and content about giving almost like a artificial version of human connection that's not necessarily what humans need to be healthy? I'm just throwing out a wide net here and seeing what your thoughts are on this.
No, that's a great point, actually. I don't know. We'll just have to kind of see as it comes, because I do agree that there was definitely a decline because of the decline in mental health, because of the lack of interaction that people were able to have. But it could also be attributed to that people were able to actually sit down and recognize their mental health state, and that's why it was just more, statistically, it was just more reported that way. There's lots of variables that are just, they can be mildly arbitrary, so it's hard to like determine what it was, pinpoint that. But it's I think that that was one good factor, though, which we were able to sit down and actually get a sense of like, oh wow, like we don't have to, we can't go out and interact socially, we have to find other ways. Or maybe that people that do like going out, extroverts, are filling it in, filling in space for them to distract them from their mental illness or their mental health state. During the pandemic, it was more like they can focus on it now, because they're like, wait a minute, have I just been going out to like fill in this like void that I need? I can't just be alone by myself, kind of thing. And then they realize, oh well, maybe I do have something going on here, because I'm just chasing the dopamine rush that you get from social interaction. But so there's two ways to kind of look at it in that sense, right?
Definitely. What's interesting even about the dopamine rush you get from socializing is that not all dopamine rushes are created equal, right? Because the dopamine rush you get when you're about to, check out some prawn, right? And, eat a big unhealthy pizza, right? It's going to be a similar biological process in the body as, oh, I'm going to go like hang out with my friends. And there's an argument to be made that the dopamine rush from chasing socializing is a lot healthier, and actually it could be very much a positive thing. Of course, that could be taken to an extreme where somebody's like addicted to attention and these types of things. But feels like there's something a little bit different. But I like what you said about how the data around mental health during the pandemic might be a little bit biased, because maybe it was just underreported because people weren't even like looking at themselves, and they didn't even know that they were all messed up internally, which I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But there's also like, I don't know if you guys have heard of the study with it was the metal monkey mom. Now, I don't think that's the name of it, but with the metal monkey mom, what they did is they took these baby monkeys and they gave them literally just these metal figurines that look like an adult mother, looks like their mom. Then they took other babies and put them with their actual mother. And the ones who did not have that physical touch and that physical proximity literally got brain damage and many other issues. So that, is an example. We are Homo sapiens, not too different from monkeys. So we've definitely got that going on. But I also like what Zach said too, because this is why it's so interesting. It's because like the platform of Zoom, for example, like I am also a mental health coach specializing in social anxiety, right? Which being online, and you've seen what BetterHelp has done, if you know what it is, like that has allowed so many more people to begin to work on their mental health in the first place. So that is such an amazing tool that I think is making positive change. But I really do think ideally we all want to be able to come together as much as possible. So anyways, I think Zach wants to chime in.
Yeah, I think Rocky, me and Oliver are going to go like a good cop, bad cop route with you, where I'm going to be the bad cop and Oliver's going to be the good cop. And so like,
well, I'm the Zoomer here too. You know what I mean? I'm Gen Z, so it's like also like I grew up with the smartphone. Too. Yeah. But go ahead.
So like, I mean, so it's crazy because I mean, dystopic novels have always kind of alluded or foreshadowed, right? Artificial intelligence or machine learning taking over, and some of the downsides or fallback of that, right? And now we're almost seeing things kind of play out in a way that's consistent with these novels that were written decades ago. Even like the movie Ready Player One. Seems like, you know, we're not very far from that becoming a potential reality, especially with even like the introduction of the metaverse. Okay? And so it's like, man, are we fucking ourselves in a way? Like, I mean, I just have to say this because like there is a comfortability in just in the computer screen being in front of us that takes that, like, we don't have to necessarily maybe deal with some of the, you know, how do I say it? Like some
well,
of
you can disassociate from your body when you're all your focus is on a screen. You can disconnect from here, and that obviously can cause trauma and so many other things.
Yeah, and you're just also like, I mean, it's still not real human connection and interaction.
Right.
And so in a way, right? And so or maybe it is. So I don't know. I mean, we even have to look at this is a kind of even far out there concept relative to what we're discussing, but even the overconsumption of pornography, right, and how that's affected men's ability to sexually relate and be intimate. I mean, that is a function of technology. Now, very different from what we're even discussing, but we've seen the downside and the drawback of having access to these virtual realities in a sense, right? And so where is that line, or how much, you know, even at Meta, are these conversations that you guys are having in, do we even have to maybe regulate or put potential blocks on the way that people utilize and interact with, you know, with VR, virtual realities, or, you know, things like this?
Yeah. So I don't really know if those, I mean, I'm sure they are happening, but they're just probably in the background, or, you know, I'm mostly on the tech side, so I don't really hear that kind of stuff, you know, around the office or anything like that. But what I can say, so I think what you're trying to say is, should we be afraid of AI? Should we be afraid of going virtual? I don't think trying to, it's not that simple where we can just be like, oh yeah, we can't, you know, we can't have that, or we should totally go for that. It's more so like, what's the use case? You know, where can we apply this where it can actually benefit somebody, where we can actually use it, you know, to better somebody's life or quality of living, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to just be like, oh, are we gonna have, you know, what we've known and what science fiction tells us about AI and VR is like, yeah, we're headed for, you know, this, you know, apocalyptic kind of dystopian world where, you know, it's just going to be Asimov kind of iRobots situation. But I don't think that's quite there, because we still have to write the programming for what these things do, right? That it still has to be written. And once we can achieve something where it can't be written by us, then maybe we'll see some sort of sentience. But until then, it's we're writing that programming, we're creating what this thing does, we're telling it what to do, even though it can be behavioral or emotional responsiveness, or, you know, whatever it is, it's still written in code. There's the paradox is you can't have it not be in the code that wasn't written by us. It's, if it, you know, it's writing its own code, that's still us that wrote it told it to write code. So I don't think we have to be afraid of sentience AI for quite some time, but what we can do is kind of look into how maybe it could be beneficial for somebody to be in a VR experience. I mean, we can go as far as like, there was that one Black Mirror episode where, you know, once you're old, you can pay to like upload your consciousness to a server that has this environment where you can be 25 forever, right? That is actually on the verge. Like, that's not that far off. We could potentially be seeing.
Oh my god.
Well, yeah, but okay. So Oliver, take this one, because I'm sure you have an opinion on it.
Oh, just okay. Yeah, I mean, if it sounds like you want to share, man, so go ahead. I'll have more to say in a moment.
I mean, so like, So there's like a moral and ethical paradox with that, and a little bit too. Is like, are we playing God to an extent, right? Like this need to create immortality through technology, right? And like I said, there's a little bit of like ethical and moral implications to some people, and to others, it's like, hey, you know what? This allows someone to revisit that experience. But like I said, it's just like, are we becoming so far removed from our physical reality? Like, where is that line? Because now you're just uploading your consciousness, you're not even in your body, you're essentially entering into an alternate world. And maybe people believe that is the way, right? I mean, have you ever seen the show Westworld?
A little bit, yeah, I have.
The Westworld explores these concepts a lot too, of like,
Right.
if we create a virtual world, is it wrong or is it right? You know? And so
well, yeah. So here's the kicker: is how do we know we're not already in that right now?
Yeah, that would be like the big Elon Musk argument, right? How do we know we're not in a simulation?
Yeah. So it's how do we know this isn't like simulation 43 or something, right? How do we know we're just not going to continually do this again and again, right? So, but does that mean, oh, we should just not pursue it? No. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's scary, but it's also like really cool to see if like that's even possible. It's more about the journey there kind of thing, right? It's not really like that. To me, that's what it is. It's like, let's see how far we can push the limits on what we know about technology, how much we can, advance this and see where it can take us. Like, do I want to personally put my brain on a hard drive? I don't know, maybe, but it's like, would it be cool to know that I could? Yeah, kind of,
I mean, yeah, it's fascinating. And obviously we'll all keep rolling with the good cop, bad cop theme that Zach brought in. And I'll be a good cop here. Just to be an advocate for tech and a lot of the innovations that have already occurred and how that's impacted my life. As of recording this, some people may not know, I'm 23 years old, right? Still a baby in the world. But what I will say is, having grown up with like access to YouTube from a very young age, is that has allowed me to learn so much more about the world, and just to dispel ignorance, to dispel prejudice, racism, all these different things that previous generations never could have imagined. And like, since a very young age, I've been able to have relationships and communicate with people from all countries and see so many different things and watch countless science videos about all these amazing things and learn so much that I don't think the Common Core curriculum would have ever given to me. And I think in a lot of ways that has benefited me. But you know what also has happened? I'll play a little bad cop myself, is like, it's also caused addiction for me. Real addiction. It's caused, a lot of people think, oh, I have ADHD. It's like, I must just be a genetic thing. It's like, no, man, you are a iPhone addict. You are in your phone all the time getting constant hits of dopamine. And your regular life, regular work doesn't give you the same levels of dopamine. So no wonder you can't focus. It's not a genetic thing. It's more a matter of habits. And it's something that I believe can be fixed. But that's a side concept. But I really think as a whole, the whole woke movement in society, and it's kind of exacerbated in kind of like LA, right? Which I'm not. I'm like a couple hours drive from where I currently live. Is like, obviously there's extremes there of like, oh my God, you can't do anything, I'm offended. But the good part of that is like, now we're actually aware of cultural things and importances and history that we wouldn't have known otherwise. And we can understand people's point of views and be sensitive and be compassion. Compassion is like a big thing that I think is developing at a greater level than it ever has before, because of our access to information and to make relationships with people from all over the place. And you guess what you realize? We're all just human. Right? So that's my good cop addition to technology. And I think VR is just kind of like a more immersive, exaggerated version of what we currently have. Right? Well, most of us, we're already completely immersed in our phones half the day. Who knows? The screen time hours are crazy. Right? This is just going to be another level of that. So maybe at a certain point, it becomes extra unhealthy? I don't know. But Zach, go ahead, man. I can tell you on
Well,
this one.
yeah, no, and it's these are really interesting conversations to have, and I love what Rocky brought up was, well, maybe we're already in a simulation, and so for anyone who's really delved into psychedelics, right, we call them psychonauts. I mean, that's a revelation that a lot of us kind of come into, like, oh my God, we might be in a simulation within another simulation, right? And so, is a healthy thing to go and then create another simulation, right? Are we just continuing to just kind of branch out down the road? Oliver brought up great points that so much oppression throughout human history was because there was information gatekeeping, right? It allowed certain systems to kind of really entrench in these caste systems, right, and abuses of power, because if lower classes didn't even have access to certain forms of information, they couldn't rise up. Now, with the rise of technology, right, we all have a smartphone, we all have access to a world of information. That's done, right? And so Oliver brings up this great point of it actually has allowed for more unity. It actually has allowed for people to come into greater states of awareness, right? And is it we are already noticing that we are in a collective mental health crisis because a lot of people's dopamine receptors are fucked up, right? And a lot of that can be attributed to the insane amount of screen time that we're already utilizing. And so where is that line where if someone is feeling an uncomfortable sensation or emotion again, right? Or I just broke up with my girlfriend, let me go into the metaverse, or let me go into this virtual reality and let me have sex with some really hot, like, metaverse chick that's not real, and I never have to confront anything. Now, I'm saying this is an extreme, like, scenario, but like, these are the things where, are we just disconnecting from any uncomfortable aspect of our human experience through VR? And we notice there's a collective mental health crisis, and some of that can be attributed to like our dopamine receptors being really fucked up, and some of that is due to like the screen time, right? Anytime we flick through on a social media app, whatever, you're getting these dopamine hits like this, and it's almost artificial. And so there's this line where it's like, if we become more embedded in virtual realities, right? Or like, where's that line where it's like, if we have an uncomfortable feeling or sensation, we can just bypass it by just jumping into a virtual reality. If we have a fight, if we feel rejected by our romantic partner, we can just jump into a virtual reality and have sex with like a metaverse hooker, right? I'm positing things. You know what I mean? Like where, and so it's, man, like, do we almost need to teach people like social responsibility with utilizing these platforms in a way where we're getting the benefit out of it, but not bypassing the uncomfortable aspects of the human experience by just jumping into a meta world? Like, I already notice that if I feel like shame or something that I need to experience, I need to allow through me, I'll just pull out my phone and I'll just jump on Instagram, and I want my likes, because that'll give me the dopamine I need to take me away from the sensation. But as a result, we're becoming more and more disconnected from ourselves and attaching ourselves to an artificial world that may not be consistent with who we are. I just do a lot at you, but that's just
no, that's a really good point. I don't know why, but I kept thinking, like, what if, so let's say we were to upload this consciousness, and during that moment that it was happening, somebody altered something about you, and you get in there and you're in this virtual reality now, fully immersed. You're thinking you're you, but from what you remember of you, there's something off. Something's been changed about you. Your personality or characteristic of you has been changed. I'm not, so this isn't actually like have an endpoint here. I'm just trying to like just throw this out there. So like, right. So it's like, what if that happened? What if that's happening now too? What if there's, what we do to get on social media is when we connect with our, whatever we're trying to get the dopamine hit, what if that's now creating a characteristic change in you, right? Yeah. It's saying this is what you need to subscribe to, feel this feeling consistently. But not only that, but it's now going to change how you then interact afterwards too, right? Like once you go back out there, go, well, I still have to deal with my real life problems. I still got to deal with my real life, romantic partner or whoever. I still got to deal with it. But, you have your little distraction for a while, but during that distraction, now you have an altered mind state, and you go, and now it's making it worse, or it's making it, whatever it is. But it's hard to just say that diving deep into, this distractions that we have to get these dopamine hits is like bad or good. It's more so like, well, why am I doing it? What is making me want to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I can jump in here, if that's okay.
Oh,
I've heard this perspective from actually Gary Vaynerchuk, if you guys know who he is, many times. And it's that social media isn't necessarily, it's not the problem. But what it does is it exposes more of who we really are. It amplifies more of who we really are. So I like the questioning, the line of questioning you're doing, Rocky, because you're asking, well, why do I feel this need to go escape? And I think it's so important that we do not blame entirely social media and technology for these problems that we're running into, because it's very easy to get into that, because there's a lot of data that shows the harmful effects of social media, and you hear the stories of the Twitter CEO or whatever, YouTube CEO. I don't know the specifics, but they're like, yeah, I don't let my kids use these platforms. Heck no, I'm not going to let them have social media. Like, it's terrible. Yet they're the ones pushing it out. So obviously there's a balance in all things, but I think if we can take responsibility for the effects that are being had and maybe the undesirable ways that it's affecting our relationships and our mental health, that I think we're on a better track towards getting to a better place, rather than just looping on how evil these social media companies are and how it's like, oh, I can't help myself. I have ADHD. That's just who I am. It's like, all right, like, when's the last time you consciously meditated? When's the last time you decided to read a book? Oh, but I can't even read. It's like, yeah, well, read one freaking word, like baby steps here.
Right.
Well, now I also want to bring up another point in terms of like the benefits. I'm going to take the bad cop hat off now. Like the good, I mean, we looked at like the humans right, like the women's rights crisis going on in Iran, right? And like something like 20 or 30 years ago, like the rest of the world may have been shut off from even knowing about. But the access to readily available like social media and technology allowed us to understand something going on. Like, I mean, there's so much potential for it to be a great resource. I mean, well, I've never necessarily participated purely in like a virtual reality world. I've noticed that like I've been able to engage in certain programs or games that simulate certain environments that allow me to acquire a skill that I may not have access to in the real world. Like I've been able to get really proficient in terms of things in my business because there was a game that modeled like owning a business. Like these are some of like the really great benefits that could be available. And so Rocky, I even want you to like kind of like, what are some of like the really amazing things too that you see available through VR and the work you do that's like potentially there? We talked about the dystopic shit, right? But like where's all the cool shit and the way that it can help us?
And to add on to that question, if I may, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I think I cut out. But to add on to that question, I also want to hear not only what you see now, the benefits, but like the kind of the cutting edge technology that you're getting to be a part of, how that's going to add even maybe more benefits in the future.
Sure. So just to keep it real simplistic, right off the bat here, with a little background for me as well. Doing tech and being in the industry initially was kind of difficult because there was Google was kind of just barely there. So it was hard to like, oh, if I had an issue to repair something, I couldn't really just Google it. Like, wasn't that easy. But later on, once Google became huge for like trying to search for this and that, it was like okay to say that in an interview. It was like, oh, what do you do if you don't know something? I'm going to Google it. And like, that's actually the answer they're looking for, is because it's not whether you know it or not, it's whether you can find out, right? It's like how strong your research in Google foo is, if you will. So that is one of the tools that's really helped me a lot. So now that's just going to amplify, right? It's just going to be like, okay, well, now there's like ChatGPT, which is run by AI. And I hardly know how to code, but if I needed to find something or I needed a script for something, I can literally just ask ChatGPT, hey, I need a script to do this and this. And it'll just spit it right out, copy it, paste it, and there we go. So the the next question to that would be, okay, well, is that just going to dumb down people because now they're not learning real life skills? Well, that is a real life skill. Learning how to recognize your resources. That's a huge skill to have. Recognizing, okay, well, I can put this tool on my belt. Now I have it, whenever I need to access it, I can do it. And that's just going to be another thing where, AR or VR and AI is just going to be that. It's going to be another tool we have on our belts that we can access as a resource. And that would be the benefit, I would say, to that. And it's already doing so much when it comes to, like, let's say the medical industry. It's not just, I can generate an image that I just thought of, what would Star Wars look like if it was a Western, and like it'll spit it right out. But it's more like, oh, well, I need to have data on such and such disease, and it'll, all these supercomputers will just run the data, run the simulations, and spit that out too. And now you can save this person's life, kind of thing. So there's your benefits there for sure, right?
It's almost like, and I love what you're saying. It's like we're optimizing the way that the way we function, essentially, in terms of like, hey, why do you need to know this information or keep it all in your head when you can go and research it and then gain a skill around how to navigate and effectively gather the information right off the bat. Right now, this is an age-old question that everyone always has. We go through it with anything new, right? They're taking our jobs. No, and so, yeah. right. No, that's not. Now, for me personally, my own opinion is that's not a concern of mine. Like, I think that, like, the jobs will just shift.
Yeah.
Right. But, like, I know, like, with even like the recent AI art trend, right? Artists some artists were scared.
Yep.
They were like, oh my God, now our computer's even going to take away our ability to make art. Right. And the question is, well, do artists just become those who kind of feed the algorithm? Right. So, I mean, it's like where do you, and I don't know if Oliver has any thoughts or input on this.
That's going to be a new age job, is algorithm feeder. That's your full time.
Prompt generator. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, but like is the way that, I think people might genuinely be scared of, like, is there going to be any utility for humans? And what in the services and the skills that we provide if AI starts taking over everything? Or do we even lose the color in the world if AI just keeps assimilating and machine learning and just doing everything for us? This is the concept that was shown in Wall-E, right? Just pop culture.
I would love if we could go more in the route of, like, let's say Star Trek, right? They don't have a currency, they don't have an economy there. It's everybody just, they learn to do one type of trade, and they continue that trade, and then they're on, their biggest mission is to explore, the universe, the galaxies and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
If we could, why would we want to continue working? It's all, who likes working? Nobody likes working. It's work. But I got into tech is because I like tech. I like technology. I like troubleshooting. I like challenging myself.
Yeah.
I didn't get in here just to make the money, right? But if it was up to me, I wouldn't want to do the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I would, I want to do it on my own time. But I do love what I do. So I think that's what we would prefer. But I think when people go, oh, well, it's taking our jobs, they're thinking, oh, because I do such a, tedious and remedial job, it's like, yeah, that's probably going to happen. We have cars that can drive themselves now. So, what's Uber now? And it's just not going to be a thing in, let's say, 10 years. But, like, those people could be helping to create data and, help the companies that are wanting to get this done. Like, hey, I drive. How are you driving? How are you analyzing driving? So a lot of my background was in QA initially, quality assurance, right? So I love testing hardware and just juicing it to its maximum until it fails. And it's just fun that way. But, like, if you could just become, let's say a tester. So like you said, I don't think jobs are going to be getting lost. They're going to shift. But people have to know that that's what they can do. They have to know that that's an option they have. If people don't have that or don't know that, they're of course they're just going to ignorantly think, oh well, my job's going to get taken. So providing more access to saying, hey, um, like there are jobs available to teach these programs. You don't have to know how to code. You basically just drive around and the computer just takes it all in for you. Whatever. I'm not sure on the specifics, but yeah, it'd probably be something along those lines. But those jobs do exist, so you could be helping make that happen, right? And then who knows where that goes from there. Yeah, I think just providing people the option or the resources to know that your job can shift and doesn't have to be shut down is a better way to look at it.
So I'm really curious, Rocky, what, I don't know how much you can reveal. I don't know what's confidential and what's not. But what are some of the cutting edge VR and AR technologies that are happening or about to come out, maybe even in the next 5 to 10 years? What are they, simply put? And how do you expect life to change for everybody who's going to be listening to this in 5 to 10 years? What's like a reasonable thing? Like, what should we expect?
I mean, being in AR VR, so we can expect AR. So I can generally kind of talk about that where when like let's say for example Google Glass tried to do the whole glasses thing. I think that's going to become more relevant as time moves. I mean, there are already certain prototypes and concepts from other companies that are coming out, and a couple already on the market. They're bulky and they're kind of just but I think what we're gonna start seeing is a lot more AR, where you're just gonna have your current world outlined with certain things. Now,
which AR means augmented reality for those who don't know, which basically means like you're still in the world around you, but there are like maybe like you can see computer generated things. Like Pokemon Go is a perfect example of AR.
Oh, yep. Perfect.
Oh, if we could, if real quickly, just I have to interject. If we could turn the world into Pokemon Go all the time, like we will achieve world peace all the time. I think that is the quintessential example of like when augmented reality actually brought people together and had a healthy benefit. People were walking more, were exercising more, right? And it actually like encouraged like real physical human interaction, but based off like I thought that was the greatest example of like potential positive benefits of this. Sorry, just had to throw that in.
No, I think that's great. Yeah, if we could, that'd be great. I would love to put on some glasses and have it know like, hey, I just look over to my left and there's a Pokemon. I'd love that. But here might be some of the downsides to something like that though is I mean, I don't know if you want to call them downsides, but you're gonna get things where like let's say you're going through the grocery store and you're looking for items and suddenly you got all these ads popping out at you and it's like it's like super stimulating for like no reason at all, and all you're trying to do is shop for some groceries, and then you're like, oh, you can't take it. You just either shut it off or you take them off, and it's like, I would hate that. I would want like if we could make it where it's more fun, with a Pokemon Go or like interactive smart maps where you're trying to find a place and it's actually telling you on your glasses like where to go and how to route. Or you could have something like real-time translation. So let's say you're going to a different country and you don't really understand the road signs and whatnot, but it's capable of translating for you in real time, and it'll just do like a overlay of what it's supposed to say on the sign. And I think that would be kind of cool, like using it more so as a tool to increase the quality of someone's life rather than some kind of like ad generating bullshit.
Well,
I would hate that.
And naturally you'd think it would turn into that, the ad generating.
Of course it would.
Again, shout outs to Black Mirror once again. There's an episode about that where they like live in these rooms where that have screens and they like work in these kind of buildings where they just do the treadmill and whatnot. But there's ads that just happen. You cannot turn off unless you pay them the money, and it's just constant in it. It's just like you can just see the how horrible that would be.
Right, right.
In a microcosm, I think we already saw that with the platform of Instagram. Like, I mean, like 4 or 5 years ago, Instagram was very simplistic. You went on, wow, you could see friends' pictures from all over the world. It was great
Mm,
photography, everything, right? Beautiful captions, writing. I mean, it really was an artistic platform. And then you go on now and it's been riddled with ads like every few posts, right? You can don't even see your friends posts. Everything is super like stimulating. They try to be TikTok video flashing, and even Instagram I think had to step back, and recently they announced changes of like, oh my god, like, yeah, no, we're going to stop the videos as much. We're going to put pictures. The algorithm's going to focus on photos again. Like, sorry. So, I mean, we've already kind of seen just in a microcosm of something that was really beautiful in the way that allowed us to exchange and just became way too much and way overstimulating. Right.
mhm,
And obviously that could be
exactly.
a bigger potential with an augmented reality.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I just hope it goes into the route where it's more so utilized as a tool to increase quality of life rather than some, revenue generating ad ad, spewer. It's just I would hate that. Yeah.
Well, Oliver, you play video games more than me or whatever, but I remember, but no, but like, I, from what I understand,
Played a
like,
lot of Pokemon, by the way.
well,
Listeners.
there's a lot of, I think it's called like virtual currency within these games, where it used to be like,
Mm,
where it used to be, when I used to play video games growing up, it was you paid your $50 and you leveled up your guy and that was it. And now all of a sudden it's
And now you
turned
got these
into
$19 Fortnite gift cards. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, yeah, where you have to
these
keep
damn.
paying,
V-Bucks.
you have to keep paying to play, right? And could that happen in our physical reality, where
Mm,
it becomes, where we all need these
mm.
classes,
Pay to breathe.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're paying by the oxygen molecule.
but
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Right.
you need, like I said, like, you didn't used to need a smartphone. Now everyone needs a smartphone basically to navigate our Western society. And so can it become a thing where we all need to participate in this augmented reality, but your ability to access more and more things that allow you to function more effectively in this augmented reality is tied to your income? So then you can almost have the haves and have nots kind of
Mm,
widening and this gap
Well, dude,
increasing.
honestly, I think that's already happening in regular life, in
Yeah,
regular society. You know what I mean? That's already happening.
yeah.
Your ability to access certain information, to like travel, to have the best foods. This is all like, locked behind the door of wealth.
mm.
So, but I could see how maybe that could become a bit more, even more extreme
Mm.
Well,
with this
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Where if all these little, they call them micro transactions.
That's what I'm talking about. The
Funny enough,
Oh,
microtransactions.
microtransactions.
Yeah, the
Okay, okay.
microtransactions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, there's somebody that I've actually, he's been a client of mine. I'm not going to expose his name, but he was sharing with me like one of his little vices, addictions was mobile games, which is cool. I've played plenty of mobile games, but he was playing this little like idle RPG,
Mm.
and then within like a month of playing, he checked his bill and realized he had spent $1,000 on this mobile game. He's playing it at work, you know what I mean? And that's just on again at this little screen, you know what I mean? And it's like they just like $20 here, $20 here, and it just added up really fast.
Yeah.
And so I could see how that like people already are struggling. Like the statistics are like the average American doesn't even have $500 for an emergency.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's nuts. So imagine if that gets worse, where we're headed. But that goes into one of the points you were saying, Rocky, about maybe the future AI is going to take all your jobs, but how that could actually be a really good thing, because who wants to work? And maybe who knows how long in the future, maybe it's beyond our lifetimes, could be, I'm not sure.
Mm.
And this is kind of my hope for the future too, and I've talked about this a lot.
Well,
What if one day AI and all these wonderful machines take over 99% of the essential work,
Mm.
the things we need to live our lives, and you are free to do whatever you want, to focus on bettering your mental health, really going deep into your favorite hobbies,
Yep.
improving your and healing your relationships,
Mhm.
right? Focusing on how we can come together and spread more love and light and joy into the world and come and solve all these crises. I could see that being a very good thing.
Yeah.
But there's also the potential downside of what if it turns into some kind of like communist, like dictatorship, something
Well-
where it's it could be not so good, but it's hard to say. And before I let you speak, Zach, I want to add one more thing. And is that the thing what I've noticed, because I've played around with Chat GPT a good bit.
Mm.
And what I've learned from my time with it is that it's all about prompts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you were saying about the coding that goes into this AR and all that technology.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, and what is a prompt? It's basically like what you're feeding it, the intention that you're giving it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what seems to be super important when thinking about all this stuff is, what is the intention?
Mm.
What are you intending to create, and how important that is? And that is what's going to drive it towards whether it's going to be some like 1983, George Orwell kind of situation, or it's
1984, yeah.
Or it's something better. Even a movie that just came out, Megan, if anybody's seen it, like a situation like that, like it's crazy.
So it's really interesting. I think we're having conversations where we're even starting to widen our lens here in terms of like, it might not be about the technology itself on whether or not this becomes a positive or negative. It is the intention within the human's interaction behind it. And so what Rocky even said was, well, maybe we just don't even need jobs. And for many of us, yeah, but that would take a collective shift in the way that humans perceive themselves. Like, a lot of people overly attach their identity to their job and how many hours they're working. And so can humans find value in just being and letting machines run? Can people in power like to make people work because it kind of creates almost an indentured servitude? Would people in power be willing to take that leash off in a way, right? I mean, I think there's ethical and moral implications on, like, humans have to almost do the inner work.
Yes.
Right. Yep. Like that inner work to be able to use that, because like I said, I think what Rocky's saying is VR or AR is going to just like really just be an expansion of what humans already are. Meaning if it'll highlight our worst characteristics or our best, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I was
Absolutely.
wondering, what
can I jump in here if that's all right? Because you got me excited here, man. This is amazing. Because I think, like, with this whole show that we're doing, you've just like pinpointed one of the biggest pillars of this. Because I start the show every time I talk about bridging the gaps between spirituality and science. And I think this is the perfect example of that. Because the science is all of this technology, AI and such. And then the spirituality is, like you said, the inner work. And the quality of the future that AI gives us is entirely dependent on our intention, which our intention is entirely dependent on how we're feeling inside, whether we're mentally healthy. So I think as this science progresses, it's going to make mental health and spirituality even that much more important. And I see how that's how these gaps become bridged, right? They go hand in hand. And like, it just goes to show why this stuff is so freaking important. And if you're not feeling healthy and good inside, why you need to? Because the future is coming whether you like it or not. And I find a lot of times things don't just get better with time. We're told that a lot. But no, you actually have to do the work. Right. And so you need to invest in value in that if you don't want to get left behind. And if you want to help ultimately build this collective positive future that we're trying to build here on Earth, one by one. Because if we had the same kind of consciousness that we have here today, or that we had in the past, and it doesn't get any better going into the future with all this more powerful technology, we're fucked. We're fucking fucked, man. We suck, right? So we need to get better. Well, and anyways, I'll end my rant there. Go ahead, man.
Well, no, because we keep cutting Rocky off. So Rocky, so like one of the questions is so do you think those creating this AR and VR technology, like they have like, it's almost a greater focus on you guys, like, and who you are as people in your internal world, because you're responsible for kind of, feeding this to data in terms of how it's going to look. Right.
Well, I'm not I don't really work too much in that department. But what, well, I guess what I could say is, we can, what we know, like, what we know from like sci-fi and speculation, it's going to be pretty dang near that. Like, that's probably what you're going to, I mean, not like right off the, right off the bat, but
Like which one?
it'll eventually,
Which
like
one?
Black Mirror and stuff like that, where you're just seeing AR kind of in front of you. And, you know, okay, if we're going to go towards AI and VR, yeah, like we are going to have eventually a situation where we can just upload ourselves. That's just gonna, that is gonna happen. um how we're gonna go about it, how long it's gonna take, I'm not sure yet. What it's gonna look like, I don't know. It could be that when we do it the first time, you show up in an environment and everything's black and white because we haven't figured out color yet. There's so many variables, I don't even know how to get into it, right? But it's like, is it gonna happen? Yeah, for sure. It Should we be worried or excited? It's all on use case, right? How is it going to be applied? How are we going to use it? Are we going to, use it to make the wealthy wealthier and the poor poorer, or are we going to use it to increase the quality of life of everybody overall? Are we going to use it to create, class wars? Like, what are we going to do to use it is, I think, the better question, rather than is it bad or good. We got to figure out how we're going to be, applying this in a way that just helps everyone, just have a more desire to, just live, just experience life, right? Like, rather than just be like, oh, I'm cruising through life and, I'm just going to hate this and, I love this and I hate that and love this. And just more like, okay, well, how do we get to a point where we can actually just, uh, be okay around each other and show compassion and love, right? Like, it's that's, we're just gonna have to find out what happens. I have no, what we see on sci-fi and what's speculated, that's about it. Like, like, I have no more than that. Because the department I work in, we do firmware testing. It's more so like, I enjoy problem solving, right? I enjoy figuring that part of it out, which, yeah, I'd love to do what I do, and it's great, but would I want to do it every single day? Absolutely not. And I think anybody that works and has a job would say that. So that's why I like going back to the Star Trek parallel, which would be great. I would love for us to be able to not have to work, but rather than have a collective goal that we want to reach and achieve, but it's because we all work together and we want to be there, rather than like, oh shit, I got to go into my 9 to 5 Monday through Friday bullshit, right? Yeah.
Well, so actually, I want to ask you a question, right? So you brought up great points, and so let's create a hypothetical scenario.
Okay.
You run your own you're running the big tech company, right? You're the Zuckerberg, you're the Bill Gates, you're whatever, and you're creating this new VR AR technology, right? What in your scenario, are there any practices or things that you would want to implement to make sure that this company utilize this technology in a way that is more geared towards being a positive utility for humanity?
Yeah. I would, first of all, get rid of ads of any kind, just nothing that just makes you want to shove money into, useless shit. I would create an environment where people can come in and out, they can work when they want to. Because I want them, if I had a company, it would be more like, I want people that want to be there. I want people that just want to show up, right? I want people to be there and indulge in their passion, rather, I want them to come in and, or like, leave at the end of the day thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have to figure that out tomorrow, but like, I can't wait to get in tomorrow to do it, right? Like, I want them to be passionate about it. I don't want them just coming in like, working like zombie left and right, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Yeah, I would just open it up to that. And one, I wouldn't want to be long with a team. I wouldn't want to, act as if I was this huge CEO or anything. which you see a lot today. And it's like, I don't know. One of my things my mom told me when I was younger was a great leader is someone who doesn't want to be one. If that makes sense, right?
I love that. No, I agree.
Yeah, is if you are there and it's more of a call to action and initiative. It's like, okay, well, I'm looking around, I don't see anybody taking leadership here, and you have to kind of be that person to do it. That's kind of like, well, I have to, but I'm still seeing myself as part of the team. I'm still doing the grunt work. I'm still here in the trenches with you, but I'm just taking the initiative to create this leadership role right now because it's necessary, right? That's what I think. I would use that philosophy towards whatever I was, whatever company or startup I had going on.
And what about you, Zach?
What about me? If I ran a tech company?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's about creating. Rocky already said a positive workplace culture, of people that actually want to be there. I would be constantly testing too about, like, I would be running like these double blind testing around when people utilize virtual reality and augmented reality. They're like giving them almost like questionnaires around their mental health before and after, and noticing the different factors within the AR and VR that leads people to a decrease in well-being versus an increase in well-being, right? And so almost creating like a real subset of data around the inputs within virtual reality that lead to someone like enhancing their well-being or feeling more fulfilled or going into those internal places, where versus they feel more detached from their body, more detached from their internal experience, right? So I think really isolating those things would be great too, and creating a data set around that. Now, I don't know if that's something that big tech right now is currently looking at, but if I was running a company, that would be something I would look into.
I like when you said, increasing their well-being. I think, there are some companies that are doing that now. A few startups here and there that do see it that way, that will take your mental health into consideration. But it's getting better. It wasn't always like that. It was always like, oh, you can't, show up. You can't. If you were to say I'm taking a mental health day 10 years ago, you'd be like, your boss would be like, no, that's the most bullshit thing I've ever heard. Nowadays, though, it's a lot more accepted, and as well as it should be. It absolutely should be, because we just need that. Burnout is a huge thing. We need to be able to recuperate. You're like, I can't consistently be at 100 all the time. So like, why would you want me there if I'm not at 100? Right? Like, I will just be getting in everybody's way. I'm not going to do the job I'm supposed to do at my best. So just people just need that recuperation time, and that's okay, and that should be totally acceptable.
Yeah, definitely, completely agree.
Oliver, any input for you?
I would require every employee to have done psychedelic therapy with a licensed psychedelic therapist. Nah. I don't know, man. Like, it's hard to say. Like, it's funny. Like, one part of me, when I was hearing Rocky's ideal as the CEO of one of these companies, I'm just hearing like the stock market, his stock value just fucking plummet. You know what I mean? Which sucks, but would probably be the sad reality of that. So it's hard for me to say specifically, because I'm definitely not qualified in that position. But what I will say is that the way that I structure my life is very, very much around service to others. And I've been thinking about that a lot recently. And just how, and that can show up in so many ways, but I ask myself frequently, like, how can I be of service here? How can I help make these other people's lives better? Even if I'm just going at the Walmart checkout, and I just tell the person working, like, hey, you're doing a great job. Thanks for showing up today. Somebody I've never met. And you'd be shocked at how meaningful just saying those little things can be to people. Because most people never take the time. And that's a small thing that each and every single one of you can start to do more of.
Yeah. So
Now,
you're
of course, if you have
would-
too much social anxiety to start that, well, check out my work. I think I might be able to help.
So
But
are you the one who plays Call of Duty online, and when everyone else shit talking each other, I can see Oliver being there like, hey guys, it's all about love. It's all about unity, right?
you know what?
Funny,
Sometimes, yeah. And you know, other times I'm the one shit talking, right? Because I'm human too. But yeah. Because it's not about being perfect with it. It's about growing, getting a little tiny fraction 0.01% better each day.
Yeah.
It goes back to
So,
intention,
Rocky,
just like we talked about.
Yeah.
So Rocky, any other like thoughts relative to the conversations that we're having around, human well-being and VR, AR, anything about like just, that you're passionate about, anything else that you feel kind of called to like dive into?
I would just want to reiterate about not just AR, VR, but AI in general is like just want to go back to like, yeah, it's a tool. It's a resource. We should be utilizing it, which is happening. And Oliver, you mentioned, using ChatGPT pretty often. It's like, yeah, me too. Like almost every single day I use it. But again, yeah, we are just feeding it. We're giving it intention. So, if our intentions are bad, yeah, we could potentially end up in a bad scenario where, somebody's programming, drones to bomb and assassinate, innocent people, and that would be terrible. I wouldn't want that whatsoever. But like that is a totally like, potential thing that could, come out of that. But I think at the end of the day, not everybody that is working on it and using it, they do have a good intention to use it. And what we're gonna do with it should help increase well-being and the value of life. I don't think we should be scared to hit like spearhead it, just keep going with it, see where it takes us, because that's just, as humans, we're not just evolving, physically, we're evolving our environment, our technology, and like that's a good thing. We should be wanting that more. It's living in fear of what it could potentially be is just gonna slow it down. And I know that might sound harsh, but it's like, yeah, that's what it is. But it's just gonna slow it down, and it could even make it worse, because now we're not, giving it the attention that it needs for the good intentions to be plausible, right? So we need to give it the intentions for the good to have the good outcome from it.
Okay.
And Rocky, I have a question for you, man.
Yeah.
How soon, realistically, do you think I could transition to a full-time career as a metaverse hooker?
That's a great question.
Because I'm seriously considering it. Not.
I mean, we're already kind of seeing that happen, right? With Instagram, you've got like people make money, OnlyFans and whatnot. Like people are making boatloads of money off of that. And like, yeah, it is sex oriented, so it's like, yeah, you could potentially already do that. We see VR chat. You could just make an avatar, whatever you wanted, and sell yourself out there. It might work. I'd give it a shot. Let me know how it goes.
I've seen some clips. Oh yeah, I'll let you know. I'll give you some spark notes on it.
All right. Well, I think, we're all good. This has been an incredible conversation. I think Rocky brought up some great points, whatever. I came here very skeptical of AI and where it could lead, but like you brought awareness, like even the Star Trek example of if human beings shift their mentality around how they believe that they can operate and function within this world, then it can become nothing but a tool for good, right? Like we're almost villainizing and demonizing the tool itself when it's the user behind it. Right. Yep. And so really it's about the user itself, and that this could be a tool to optimize the human experience, right? So you even summarize about bridging the gap. It's literally like, well, if it could take our jobs, but like, what if it gets us to a place where we don't need jobs, where we don't need to be like chained into
slaving
this
away.
Slave labor, whatever, where we all used to be farmers, and then technology came about which allowed farming to kind of take care of itself, which gave us better careers. Like we're not all out there, in crops every day, right?
Hunting and gathering, right? Like we have other things to worry about now, right? Yeah.
And so can this take it to another level too, and even allow us to explore our inner world and maybe even the universe itself more, because we don't have to do the small things, right?
Right. I mean, just like the Industrial Revolution, it was like, yeah, there was good and there was bad, but ultimately I think it was good because we got to a place where there was jobs that we didn't have to, do anymore, that nobody would want to do anymore right now, right? So it's going to be kind of the same thing where like, yeah, it could be good, depending if we want to see it as capitalist as we want to see it, but yeah, that might be the worst of it, but I think we're going to get a lot more good out of it than anything else.
Yeah. And I'm a blind optimist, and I completely agree, guys. Good stuff on the horizons. Let's go, right? That's my prompt that I'm going to offer into the AI. So hopefully that turns out well. But yeah, dude, Rocky, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Absolutely.
Awesome episode. Freaking loved it. And I think the viewers are going to really enjoy it too. So everybody, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.